Good morning, class. Happy Wednesday. Today's March 25. Today we are going to start the culmination activities for this unit, your quiz grade and test grade, explaining the importance of absolute rulers in Europe. First thing, just some reminders for you. 1. Continue to seek help via email, Google Classroom. 2. Keep checking my comments on your work through Google Classroom as well, and your email too. Also, double check PowerSchool that nothing is missing or late. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to retakes, the process looks a lot different now than what it was going to if we were actually at school. And the chances of you being able to retake something that's 1, open note, or 2, mostly multiple choice true false types of questions, which, by the way, the chances of me giving you graded work like that is not going to happen a lot. It's going to be really hard for me to do retakes on that type of activity and that type of work. So please reach out ahead of time for retakes. There is no lack of a deadline for this. Now, I'm not going to give you, for this online work, up to exams to do your retake, because we need to review some of this stuff together, and it's just too difficult logistically to make it work any other way. So just some reminders for that. First thing, on Google Classroom, I'm going to update the review materials resource with some more things for you. I would like you to take 5-10 minutes just to do some of your own review to help prepare you for this project we're going to start, which is a quiz grade. For an open note quiz you'll be taking tomorrow, which will be a classwork grade, and then for next week when you take your quote test end quote, which is not going to be a traditional test, but you will want to do some review for that. So first thing you should do is take 5-10 minutes just to do some review. After you're done with that, we're going to finish our discussion on Russia with a little bit more notes, not very much. So take those out. Pause the video if you need to for that. But first, legacy Peter the Great. Remember, your Rate the Ruler assignment is due 10 a.m. this morning, so if you're watching this before 10 a.m., you've got a little bit of time to maybe add to your Rate the Ruler worksheet and maybe add some of this stuff down. The positives is 1, he expands territory in that map below the chart. You see the purple regions we talked about in an earlier video. 1 on the west side, 1 on the east side of Russia. He expands the Empire of Russia. Second, in order to do that, he has to expand and strengthen his military, so he makes the army stronger. 3, he increases trade with ports along the Baltic Sea. This is going to be up here, a little hard to see. Further north, it's not going to be a warm water port. That's going to be a negative of his legacy, but it still helps with trade to end the isolation, which is the last positive of Russia. The fact that it becomes more westernized can be both a good and a bad thing. The good thing is you can borrow ideas and make progress from other countries. The bad thing is that comes at a cost of losing your own individual culture too. If you're just copying somebody else, that's not entirely a good thing either. Negatives, since he was so harsh in forcing nobles to work for the government, many of those nobles ignored his policies. Second, he used terror to increase his power. He did this in a brutal way, very harsh, like absolute rulers do. So maybe what he's doing is good, but how he's doing it, not so much. 3, increase serfdom. He wants to become more modern, more Western, but he's using a medieval way of doing it by using serfs to do that. So by increasing serfdom and decreasing the middle class, he's actually making the gap between Russia and the rest of Europe wider than what it could be if he just abolished serfdom like everybody else did. So just like with all these rulers, it's a mixed bag. Looking forward to see what rating you gave him, especially how that rating compares to the other people we've talked about in this unit. After Peter the Great, this is the last person we'll talk about with Russia, the last notes we'll take for this unit. We have Catherine the Great. She eventually takes over the throne in 1762, so it's not right after Peter the Great, it's a little bit afterwards. She, however, is similar to him in a lot of ways. 1, she advocates for the westernization of Europe with its education. with its culture, with just the overall way of thinking that they have. And we'll talk more about that type of thinking in the next unit, which is on the Enlightenment. So she follows a similar policy of westernization. She expands serfdom even more to strengthen her power by forcing people to work for the state, to work for her. Unlike Peter the Great, though, she does claim a warm water port. This is a port that's open year-round. The water is warm enough, it doesn't freeze over. So that allows for Russia to trade year-round at that port. That is one area of success for her that was not something Peter the Great was able to accomplish. Just like Peter the Great, she does also expand the Russian Empire by claiming some land from present-day Poland. And there's the wonderful Catherine the Great. If you have any questions about what absolutism looks like in Russia, please ask me, email me, private comment, whatever. I'll post some review materials as well that will help you. Please note that you will have an open note quiz. Some of you, I think, missed the open note part based on the grade you got on the first one. You will have an open note quiz tomorrow. No, Thursday. I take that back. It'll be Thursday, not tomorrow. So get your notes ready for the following topics. 1. Absolutism in Austria. The Habsburg Empire, Maria Theresa, War of the Austrian Succession. Have notes for that. 2nd, absolutism in Prussia. How Prussia is Protestant. Prussia led by Frederick the Great. That was in the same video as the Austria video. Those were in the same video together. And then the 3rd topic will be absolutism in Russia, which is Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, what the videos the past few days have talked about. So it'll be similar to the first quiz, a classwork grade, a Google form. It'll be open note. Make sure you have that ready. Make sure you do a little bit of review. And once again, I'm not going to make this quiz today. It's going to be Thursday. That's when your quiz is going to be. If you have questions before you take that quiz, please let me know. And don't neglect the review resources that I'm putting for you to help you study. Even though it's open note, it wouldn't help to do some review as well. But once again, do not use a partner for this quiz. Do not use Google for this quiz. Open note is the only resource you have, nothing else. Here is what you will start today, but is not going to be due until next week, Monday, 10 a.m., when you are expected to check in. This project is going in as a quiz grade. I will post a rubric with all of these details on it as well on Google Classroom, so you can always go back and check. But you're going to be creating a persuasive piece of propaganda. You'll get to choose exactly what you create, and you are going to choose a specific ruler from this time period. I'll give you a list of options. Not that you think is the best, or the worst, or the one you like the most, or the one you like the least. It is the one that you believe is the most absolutist. In other words, the person, he or she, that demonstrates absolutism, think about the germs, the most. They have the most power. You can create a video or commercial for this person, some form of brochure or pamphlet. The 3rd one might be difficult just because you don't have a way to get a poster to me if you actually draw it out. So you can create like an infographic, kind of like an online version of a poster. Feel free to do that. If you want to create your own website about this person, Google Sites is probably the easiest way to do that, but there's other website creation tools out there that you could possibly use as well. If you have a different idea besides any of these options, as long as it is not a presentation or an essay, send it my way and I will let you know whether or not that's something we can make work. But please don't choose another idea besides what's listed without consulting me about it first. So choose one of those things. You're going to make it about the person who is the most absolutist. It'll be a quiz grade. It'll be due next week, Monday, 10 a.m. Here is a list of the different people that you can choose as, once again, not the best or the worst, but as the most, quote, absolutist, end quote. You could choose King Philip II, King Louis XIV, Oliver Cromwell, Frederick the Great, Maria Theresa, Peter the Great, or Catherine the Great. So what I'd like you to do today, since you've got multiple days to work on this, I would like you to look through the notes and the information you have about all these different people, and by the end of today, figure out which person you are going to choose as the most absolutist. At the very least, have that done. If you want to work and do more than that, work ahead a little bit, that wouldn't be a bad idea. But I think at least choosing the person you're going to have as most absolutist would be a wise thing to have at least done by tomorrow. This will be on Google Classroom once again, but here is what your piece of propaganda, whether that is a website or video or brochure or whatever, what it must include. 1. A picture of the person. 2. Some form of slogan or catchphrase that you are coming up with on your own, something that shows a little bit of creativity, it's clever, but still appropriate. That slogan / catchphrase should be something that relates specifically to the person and how that person is so absolutist. When I say slogan or catchphrase, talking about, with President Trump, "Make America Great Again." That was his campaign slogan. So you're coming up with something like that. Don't copy that one. Make it your own. But make sure it, 1, specifically relates to the person, and 2, it kind of sums up what makes them so absolutist. Third thing you need is a direct quote from that person, a primary source that shows their power, their absolutism. 4th is a map of the country that they ruled. And 5th, lastly, you need a description, not a full explanation, but more than just like a word or two, a description of what makes this person the most absolutist. You might want to use the GERMS template to help you do that. You will want several examples of their actions or achievements or whatever that might be of how they were absolutist. And that could be a good or a bad thing. It doesn't matter. It's just about what shows the amount of power that he or she has. Later, next week, not Monday, but later, you are going to provide a written explanation on your quote test. And your test next week will not be a traditional test. It'll be more open-ended, extended response questions. But one of those questions is going to be you explaining in a paragraph why you chose this person as the most absolutist. You will be using your description of their examples, that bullet point right above here, to do that. For this project, all you need to do for your research and for your sources is copy and paste the sources you used, or if you use the textbook at all, which, by the way, if you want me to post pictures of previous pages in the textbook like I did with Peter the Great, just let me know. I can do that for you. But just copy and paste your sources. There'll be a place for you to do that on Google Classroom. Once again, try to have at least your person figured out by tomorrow. This whole project will be a quiz grade due Monday, 10 a.m. One last thing I want to go through before I end this video. Take some time to look through what your classmates said about studying, using kind of this online learning experience for things to do and things not to do. We've got both a 3rd and a 6th hour class here, so you'll only be able to see your class's responses. I saw a ton of really good ideas from both classes. So again, this is just for people, well, I would say it's not even just for people who are struggling right now. This is meant to be a give and take activity where you're both giving advice and you're taking it, whether you feel confident in this or not. One thing I will say, I'm going to give you the same spiel. It's not really a spiel, it's me chewing you out a little bit, that I gave to my current events class yesterday. The fact that only 9 out of 20 students did this, only 15 out of 25 students did this, is ridiculous. Not acceptable. When you only have half of a class, just a little over doing work, what that means is that I have to grade every single thing that you do. That would be really irritating for me. It would put me in a bad mood. It would take up more time than I'm already taking to plan all this stuff. And it will be a lose-lose for all of us. Just because I don't grade it doesn't make it optional. I'm expecting you to do this work. I'm disappointed that so few of you did. For those of you who did turn it in, thank you. For those who didn't, that's not cool. That needs to stop right now. Otherwise, things are going to change a whole lot, and you're not going to particularly like it with this online learning experience. So please take time to post some advice if you haven't yet, and read through what your classmates said. You don't have to reply to anybody. Just look through it. You might find something that you weren't doing before, that you hadn't thought about before, that could help you be successful these next weeks as we continue the online learning process. Let me know if you have questions. Details posted on Google Classroom. Good luck.